Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam.
Narayanam Namaskrityam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Nashtaprayeshu Yabhadreshu.
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhavatir Naishtiki.
Bhakti Naishtiki.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today. So we'll go over the verse, which is chapter 3, which is titled Karma Yoga, and we're reading verse number 35. So I'll read the verse. You can repeat after me. Shreya Swadharma Vigunaha.
Shreya Swadharma Vigunaha.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha Tat.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Paradharma Swa Anushtita Tat.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Paradharma Swa Anushtita.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Any Prabhujis or Matajis wants to try reading it out?
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Shreyan
Shreyan
Swadharmo
Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Paradharma Swanushthitat.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha.
Paradharma Swa Anushthitat.
Paradharma Swa Anushtitaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Paradharmo Bhayavaha.
Thank you. We'll read the word-for-word translation. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shreya.
Just to note, your volume is a little low.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Let me try to correct it. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. How's it now?
It's better.
All right. Thank you, Prabhu. Shreya.
Can you also change the screen?
Oh yeah, sorry. Shreyan,
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 far better.
far better.
Swadharma,
Swadharma,
one's prescribed duties.
One's prescribed duty.
Vigunaha,
Vigunaha,
even faulty.
Even faulty.
Paradharma,
Paradharma,
Paradharma.
from duties mentioned for others.
from
From duties mentioned for others.
Devanushtitat,
Sanashtida,
Sanushtita.
then perfectly done.
then
When perfectly done.
Swadharme,
Swadharma,
Swadharme.
in one's prescribed duties.
In one's prescribed duties.
Nidhanam,
Nidhanam,
Nidhanam.
destruction.
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 Shreya,
Shreyaha,
Shreyaha.
better.
better.
Paradharma,
Paradharma,
Paradharma.
duties prescribed for others.
Duties prescribed for others.
Bhayavaha,
Bhayavaha,
Bhayahavaha.
dangerous.
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 Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Prabhupada.
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties
It's far better to discharge one's prescribed duties,
even though they may be faulty,
even though they
Even
may
though
be
they may be faulty.
than others' duties. Then
Than
Than
others'
another's duty.
destruction in the course of performing one's own duty
Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty
is better than engaging in another's duty.
is better
is
than
better than
engaging
engaging in another's duty.
For to follow another's path is dangerous.
For to follow another's path is dangerous.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Materially prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate others' prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for this particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it's better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. Therefore, one transcends the modes of material nature and fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana, or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinction of material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parshuram was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on this material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have full sense of Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagana Raghunatam Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Thank you again. Thank you for joining in today. So today we're reading from chapter 3, verse number 35, where Krishna is telling Arjuna about comparing one's own duty as to others' duties. So in the previous chapter, like the previous couple of verses, Sri Krishna is advising Arjuna, like in verse number 33, which Madhupati Prabhu spoke on Friday, like Krishna tells Arjuna, every man has his own nature, and he follows nature, and that nature comes from what where he's situated where he's situated according to the three modes of material nature. So that's how a person has. So everybody is different in his own way, and so everybody has their character. They have the particular aversion to something. They like something, and it's very difficult to actually repress things. Like in the next one, in verse number 34, Krishna says, what one must do, he must actually regulate himself. He must actually regulate so the senses can be controlled. You cannot really repress things, but you have to regulate them. And there is a process of regulating them. And now in this verse, he's saying like, now this is the process of how you can actually, you can transcend, like you might be in a lower mode, you might be situated in a lower mode, but how you can actually transcend from the lower modes and come to higher modes. And for that, there is actually a process. And that process is like where, you have the Varnashrama Dharma, or, based on what Varna you are, you have like, you're given a Dharma, there's something called like Krishna says, one's own prescribed duties, or Swadharma, which is one's own prescribed duty. So based on like what mode you are in, we know about the three modes of material nature. So everybody has some kind of different. Okay, each of the mode influence a person in certain ways. So on whatever way the person is actually influenced, he has certain characteristics, and he has certain some kind of a nature. So based on that nature, he has a propensity for certain things, and he doesn't like to do certain other things. So broadly, Krishna has actually created 4 classes of men, 4 varnas, which is actually called Chaturvarnyam. So Krishna says like Chaturvarnyam maya shishtam guna karma vibhagasa tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. This is a very famous verse, and I'm sure all of you have heard of it. So what translation is, according to the 3 modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the 4 divisions of human society were created by me. And although I'm the creator of the system, you should know that I'm yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. And then he's described in chapter 18, like verse number 42, 43, and 44, he described what those 4 classes of men are. like, and he says like peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, leadership are the natural qualities for work of the Kshatriyas. Farming, cow protection, business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, their labor and service to others. So, like each of us like we possess like some of these characteristics, but some of these may be predominant in some people, and it may not be predominant in other people. So based on that, we have to choose our work. And now again, that might bring us to like the question of like, is this an occupation, and how does it relate to like prescribed duties, what Srila Prabhupada is talking in this verse. Now like we all have occupations, like some of them are like some of us are engineers, some of us are doctors, some of us are like painters, all different kind of occupations. And we all have actually a propensity for like, to do that. Very often we find in our own cases, we want our children to become like a doctor, but the child may not be at all interested in being a doctor. He might be interested in painting. So he might excel himself as in studies and end up becoming a doctor, but at the end of the day, he's never going to be like happy. So even when it comes to occupational duties, you can see that, if you try to do something which you are not like inclined to, you'll end up being unhappy. It's very common. So you have to pursue that what you're good at naturally. It's better to be like I think Amritananda Prabhu was saying something the other day, like it's better to be yourself and people to hate you than be somebody else you're not, so that people love you. It's something on those lines. I mean, no, actually, if you're yourself, people will love you. If you pretend to be something else, I think people eventually see through it, and then even if people don't see through it, you will be miserable yourself. So what you need to do is like you have to figure out. You need to understand what you like to do and do it. This is like, I'm just talking of like the occupational duty. Now, when it comes to prescribed duty, the prescribed duty Srila Prabhupada is saying here is like what is ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. Before that, he says, materially prescribed duties are duties enjoyed according to one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. So, like, because of the influence of the modes of material nature, you have, the spiritual master can actually see what how your influence he has. So he can actually guide you in your spiritual duty. So that could be termed as spiritual duty. Occupational duty is there, and then there is this spiritual, in a way, like actually they are both intertwined, because even when you perform your occupational duty, you just don't perform like just like whimsically. You need to, if you have to like gradually transcend the modes of material nature, what we need to do is we have to like see those. We have to make sure that those occupational duties or prescribed duties are like in the service of Krishna. So that's where the spiritual master can guide you. Like so. Now there is like even when it comes to spiritual duties, like it's not you can't just whimsically choose it. An example would be like when Srila Prabhupada took some Western disciples to India. Some of them, so they saw some Babajis, just sitting and chanting continuously. Now, some of these Western disciples thought, okay, now Srila Prabhupada has told us to chant, and this Babaji is sitting and chanting continuously. Maybe we should do the same thing. and they decided, okay, well, one of them, they went up a tree. They made himself a platform. Then he sat there, and he was thinking he's going to chant there, for the sitting there. He tried that for a few days, maybe a couple of days. Then he just couldn't chant, sit there. So even like we find when we do our chanting, we do 16 rounds. Many of us, like at one, we get kind of tired and distracted and all that. So we can't imitate, Haridas Thakur. He would chant 300,000 times the holy name. He would do how much, like 64 times 3 the malas, so we can't just imitate him. Even like some days we try to chant like 64 rounds, it's like after we just get weary, and we can't chant anymore. So what does that mean? Does that mean like, okay, we just leave our, dump our bags on one side chanting and then go and engage in some kind of other sense gratification? No. We can do other service, like, something like we can sing bhajans, or we can actually do some service in the temple, or there's so many other things we can do. So the spiritual master actually he can guide us according to our our nature, what we and how we could we could actually render proper devotional service. So that way, and when that happens, eventually, we're talking in the previous verses, our senses come under control. And when our senses come under control, we lose our liking for certain thing and our aversion to certain things. And again, our occupation becomes not as a purpose of our own sense gratification by making money, or by or whatever other thing we may think of to gratify our senses. Whatever, we talk about karma yoga. Karma yoga means yoga we have learned before is to connect to Krishna through our different ways, to connect our senses with Krishna's senses. That's how Madhupati Prabhu has given definition yoga in many of his classes, to connect our senses with the sense of Krishna. So what we are trying to do is we get satisfied, our senses get satisfied when Krishna's senses are satisfied. That is the ultimate sense of yoga. And these chapters are like karma yoga. Karma yoga is where we can use our karma or our work to satisfy the senses of Krishna. So we might be doing different occupational duties, but and we are executing them in a way so as to give the results of whatever we are doing to Krishna. That way we're slowly elevating ourselves, if when we do that, we do not incur any there is a karma, or we do not incur any karma because of the work or what we are doing. Otherwise, what happens if you don't do that? The laws of karma, which are binding, it just takes over, and we get if you work, we get the fruits of our labor. We enjoy the fruits of our labor, and then once they are exhausted, again we fall down. Again it's back to square one. But this way, when our occupational duties and our prescribed duties, whatever is done to satisfy this, or the results are offered to Krishna, we do not gather any karma which is binding, and we are able to cross over the samsara. So that's the whole idea. So gradually we have to know what our propensities and what kind of nature we have, and based on that, we have to work. Of course, like I said, the spiritual master will advise you on what kind of work you need to do, what kind of work you need to do, and then that way you purify yourself. You don't like look at somebody else's, what somebody else is doing, and then try to follow that. From like a distance, it might look very nice, you might see, like you might think, okay, that the person, the pujari, is doing very, very nicely, doing the altar and all, but we may not have the sense of propensity to be a pujari. So we might try and end up becoming a pujari, but then there will be like no joy in it, there'll be no joy in it. Similarly, somebody else, he might be actually very good in cleaning the temple or something. And he might actually, so somebody else might want to do the cleaning, but he might be better as a pujari. So he might not really enjoy cleaning. And then, it's not a very good example I'm giving you, but maybe somebody can, in the comments, can think of a better example. What I'm trying to say here is, like, you have to do the work you really enjoy, and then you have to, that work is to be done as an offering to Krishna or to serve Krishna. So that's the whole thing. And that's how we transcend ourselves. We come out of this. And Srila Prabhupada then gives the example of, in the verse he gives, in the purport, he gives the example of Vishwamitra, and he gives the example of Parashuram. Like he says, like Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but he acted as a Brahmana. And there's a whole story, like why he wanted to be a Brahmana, and for that he meditated like many years, and then and the reason he wanted to be a Brahmana was like somebody disrespected him because he was not a Brahmana. I don't really remember the story. So, but eventually he becomes they give him the title of Raj Rishi, and then later on he becomes a Brahma Rishi, and then he starts acting, like a Brahmana. So he actually elevated himself. Then we have Parshuram, but Parshuram is actually the Lord himself. He was always on the transcendental plane, and again, there's a story like his, maybe Simeshwar Prabhu can later on say, like how his mother drank the wrong pot of the kheer, which was actually meant for somebody else, and then she was the wife of a Brahmana, but she ended up giving birth to this child who had like Kshatriya-like propensities, and that was Parshuram. And then her sister, like who was married to a Kshatriya, she drank the one which was meant to be a Brahmana, and then her child had Brahmana-like qualities. And I don't remember. I wonder if it was Vishwamitra himself. I don't know. I mean, I should have researched it. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's a story. Yeah, but Parshuram was an incarnation of the Lord, and therefore he was always transcendental. So he could act in whatever way he wanted because he's Parshuram, is an incarnation of the Lord. But we see like Vishwamitra had to eventually had to go through this gradual process of and rise himself to be a Brahmana. But what Srila Prabhupada is trying to tell us here is like, it's not even good enough to be a Brahmana. We have to go beyond being a Brahmana, and that's the transcendental stage. And when we reach the transcendental stage, it doesn't matter what kind of occupation we're doing, or because everything will be actually, at that stage, everything you'll be doing for the service of Krishna. So anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. You have no abhilasha. Anya vilashita shunyam, like your abhilasha is kind of shunya, nothing. Jnana karma, you do not have any desire for jnana, karma, everything. Everything is directed to the service of the Supreme Lord. So, and we can see like other day, like Tarun Prabhu was asking this question of like what we should be aspiring, and then Simeshwar Prabhu said that what is that? I think I have it here. I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, or I'm not a Shudra, nor am I a brahmachari, householder, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. I identify myself as the servant of the servant of the servant on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He's like an ocean of nectar, and he's the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He's always existing with brilliance. Naham vipro na cha narapatir napi vaishyo na shudro naham varni na cha grahapatir na vanasto yatir va kintu pradyam nikhila paramananda purna pritadha purnamamritadbhir gopi bhartu pada kamalayor dasanudasa. So we may have, this all this identities because we are in the material world. We may be like, identifying ourselves as grahastha, brahmana, or shudra, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, this material, material designations what are meaningless, and we must strive to come to that platform where we consider ourselves as the servant of the servant of the servant, which is like, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I myself identify as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. And he was chanting this prayers when he was actually doing the, on the Rath Yatra time, he was actually chanting these prayers. And if you look at the Bhagavatam, the supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhaktir adhokshaje. It's like haituki apratishta yayatma suprasidati. So, the paro dharma means the supreme occupation. And it's actually transcendental. Supreme occupation is actually loving devotional service, which is like, it's beyond all the three modes of material nature. So when you're engaging in like when you're engaging in devotional service, it doesn't matter what you are. So you might have this designation like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, whatever, but the point is to get to the stage where you're like, you're doing transcendental devotion service. So in that way, like you might be like cleaning the toilets of the temple, or you might be doing in the temple, you might be doing you might be doing puja as a Brahmana. It doesn't matter because you're situated on the same level. You're serving the Lord, it's at the same level, doesn't matter. So that's when we give up all these false identities about, myself, my false ego, all those things. So that's done through this gradual process of, purifying ourselves, following our prescribed duties, so we can eventually rise above all that. So I'll finish here, and any questions or any comments, and if somebody can tell me the story of, how Parshuram became a Kshatriya, and thank you. Haribol.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roji, for a wonderful class. Nicely pointed out lots of points.
Hare Krishna, I have to say, Prabhuji, like I'm not a very natural speaker, so I'll have a lot of falls and everything. So please forgive me.
No, you spoke very well. Very well. I mean, nobody is like that, Prabhuji. I mean, it's we speak. That's all. I mean, see, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, even you can represent, you can put the details from the scriptures. That's good enough. Not that, that how attractive you are. That's not the matter. But what you put from the scripture, that matters. It's very nice. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful class. Anybody else has anything to add? Any questions? Anybody has any concerns? Yeah, I was not sure about Proji that the mother, but what I understood, what I knew actually, Lord Parshurama's father was Jabadagni,
Yeah,
and
Jabadnima. Yes.
mother was Renuka,
Yes.
and Jamadagni was from the Brahmana class, and Renuka was from the Kshatriya class.
Yeah, and she had a sister who was married to another Kshatriya king. So
Yeah.
and there was some mistake, but what happens is like Parshuram's father asks him to go and kill his mother, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because of when Kartiya Veer Arjuna came to the hermitage of Jamadagni, Sage Jamadagni and Mother Renuka, and forcefully captured the Mother Surabhi. Surabhi was the only means for the Jamadagni's rage. And Kartiya Veer Arjuna and thousands of soldiers came to the hermitage of Jamadagni. That time, Kartiya Veer Arjuna saw that this cow, the Mother Surabhi, is providing all the necessities of all the soldiers, everything, food, all the needs. And he was so puffed up and said that I'm a king, I'm the ruler of this place, and the king, the cow should be belongs to me. And then sage, requested, and this is not an ordinary cow. You cannot, if you take it, it won't give you anything. And then forcefully, then they had a big fight, and
Yeah.
forcefully Kartivira Arjuna took the cow and put it there. And that time, Kartivira Arjuna also misbehaved with Mother Renuka, and Renuka had to beg and in order to avoid the fight. And then Mother Renuka went to the court of Kartivira Arjuna. Then that was not supposed to be the code of conduct, that a woman or a respected woman should go and alone and to question. That time, yeah. So then when Mother Renuka came back, it was against the code of conduct, and Jamadagni was very furious and then asked Parashurama to kill Mother Renuka. And then Parashurama was in a big, Dharma Sangat, and hear the words of his father that needs to be obeyed, that has to be obeyed. At the same time, he has to kill his mother. That's a big sin. But then Jamadagni was very much upset, and then finally Parshuram had to kill. But at the same time, uh, you know, Jamadagni was very pleased with the Parshuram and asked, you can request a boon from me. Said, to revive and, give me back my mother. Then Mother Renuka got back to life with that power of, say, Jamadagni. But then he has very much, Parshuram became so furious with all this because of this one Kshatriya, and he took a shapath vow to kill the entire Kshatriya class who is doing against the religious principles. Lord Parshuram went around and killed all these adharmic Kshatriyas 21 times. And then finally he got back with his axe, and then there is a place in Kurukshetra. That's where actually that Lord Parashurama came and washed all the blood on the axe. And I think it's mentioned that still that lake is pond is in a red color. Still it is there. It's with a red color. So yes, that's true. Yes, and it's also mentioned that Lord Parshuram is still there. Actually, still there. Hanumanji is still there. There are the Chiranjeevis, 7 Chiranjeevis. Parshuram, Hanumanji is there. Uh, Ashwadhama is there. And there are many instances out there that people see, very sages, and those people see them often.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for answer. Any other questions?
Anybody else had to add? can ask. It's a common discussion. It's a general discussions. Anybody can have anything. Anybody would like to add anything? I would also request Amardananda Prabhu and other devotees. Please share your thoughts, your realizations. It's wonderful to have group discussion. Nice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, my thought is that today, Dandvat, all Krishna Prabhupada, I've been reflecting on this. Today is Mother's Day, and social media is full of, all posts. But one specific post on Facebook which I liked, I think it was from ISKCON of Mathura or somewhere, some ISKCON temple. They had a picture of Srila Prabhupada and the importance of women, and the woman Prabhupada said has the natural propensity to love. At the end of the day, bhakti is all about love. And below that, there was a picture of a Mataji sitting in a lotus pose and with 6 arms. In one arm, there is a kadchi, the ladle with which you cook. The other arm, there is a Bhagavatam. The third arm, she is holding her child, like a small baby, she's nurturing for it. And the fourth arm was doing the clothes or something. So basically multitasking, a woman. And I was thinking with today's verse, where it's better to remain in your own duty. So for a Mataji, she has so many roles, and if we see that Mother Durga is the one who kills all the demons, anarthas, material. Mother Saraswati is knowledge. Annapurna is food. Mother Lakshmi is good fortune. And the source of all of them, Mother Radharani, she is the embodiment of love. Now that's how who Mother is. Now, of course, in a material sense, it is, one day everyone gets excited and celebrates Mother, 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 Mother. But the fact remains that women are the most exploited. And it's only in bhakti where a woman's position, or in the Vedic culture, where a woman's position is elevated to the highest. So if we just think about it, Krishna, who's the supreme most, he becomes the servant of Radharani and her servants and her servants and her servants. So I'll end with, there was a very famous, he still is, a very famous Indian music director called A.R. Rahman. He gives very unusual music, very nice music. He gives, and he had composed a tune on the motherland, Ma Tujhe Salam. And of course, today everyone is doing salam to mother. But what I found very significant is in bhakti, we do salam to each and every mother, woman, not just mother who's biologically had children, but each and every woman, we do our salam by simply calling her Mataji. And Prabhupada taught us that, there isn't just one mother, your biological mother, there are these 7 mothers. So today, on the day of Women's Day, to all the Matajis on our forum and outside also, Ma Tujhe Salam. Thank you, Matajis, for all that you do. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
It was excellent.
Wonderful.
Yes, wish you all a happy
Thank you so
Mother's
much,
Day.
Prabhuji.
All
We
good.
appreciate-
Thank you
We
for
are-
compliments.
that was-
Yeah. Thank you for compliments for all mothers.
Yes,
Happy
That was
Women's Day.
that was very thoughtful of you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
thank you,
Glory
Amardana.
to Prabhupada. It's all Prabhupada's
Hare
teachings.
Krishna.
What do we know? We think that mother is only our mother. When we came over here, we know who is mother and what is her position.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, that's very well, Madhanda Prabhu said that the mother's position, that unparalleled in this world. I mean, nowadays there are many exceptions, but the pure-hearted, the sincere hearts, and the efforts, and the struggle they take to raise a family, raise a children, and that's exactly what Madhanda Prabhu said, that in our culture, mother has a big position. Without mother, without women's, nothing happens in our culture. They have a very, it says that even you don't do anything else, but if you respect your mother, take care of your mother, that's good enough to attain even heavenly kingdom.
Yeah.
That is the position, but many people misunderstand this, misinterpret this, and many ways they took it in a wrong way and all those things. Yes, correct. I mean, that's very, very appropriate, that to, especially for a woman, a day, mothers, a day, their struggles, their hardships, everything is well respected.
Prabhu, if I can take 1 minute to add something, and this is for all the Prabhus on the forum, and generally Prabhus outside also. From my personal experience, when the kids were small and I was working and Savita was the homemaker, because we decided that the first formative years, the child should be with the mother. So, samskaras and all these things. So I used to be busy with work related and then, Hare Krishna activities and all that. So she was the anchor, and especially with the kids and all the manners, values, and all those things. So when I would come from work, she would be tired. And then I would say, Arey, what are you getting so tired for? What do you have to do? You want to do cooking now? You have a washing machine, you have a dishwasher, you have a vacuum cleaner, things, almost automatic, everything. How long you take cooking? Maybe 1 hour. How long do you take for? So I was doing a time thing in terms of what all you do. Then she says, you just don't know, from morning till night, correct? Something or the other, there's non-stop. And I could never figure this out till such time I started out on my own. And then initially, before getting an office, I used to work from home. And that's when I actually realized the amount of housework is 24/7. Office we go for 8 hours, maybe there's pressure, you do it 10 hours, 12 hours. Maybe occasionally you'll work on weekends, occasionally. But the housework never ends. And more importantly is, mother doesn't get promotion or anything, except like us, people like me, taking her for granted to that extent. But still she does it. So all my Prabhus, on a weekend, give Mataji's a break and just try to do everything from morning when she gets up till night she goes to sleep, Saturday and Sunday. And that's when we can really appreciate who a Mataji is. That's my personal experience, and my eyes opened wide. And I said, wow, these are Matajis. So again, pranam to all you Matajis. Thank you.
That's what it is. Let us say Hari Bol and Dandot pranams to all the mothers, all the women, and let's do that.
Haribo.
Haribo. Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Also,
thank you.
I just want
really
to add
appreciate.
one thing. There is no retirement also for Mataji.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. It was very nice. Prabhuji, I have a question. Like when we were talking about the passion of about your work, and then your this thing that you're doing for Krishna. Can you give me an example of Vishwamitra? Like he was also Kshatriya, or then he became Brahmin?
He became a Brahmana, Mataji. And again, that's like, again, I'm not sure. And he saw like some like brahmanas were being given more respect, or and something which actually made him want to aspire to be a brahmana, or is it something like that? Samishwar Prabhu, I mean, do you
Yeah,
know
that's right. Yes, yes. Actually, Vasishta, Sage Vasishta and Vishwamitra, they were actually, Vasishta was very well respected and a Brahmarshi and lots of power and could control everything. And Vishwamitra got bit jealousy because of this Vasishta's power and spiritual power, and if Vasishta could do anything. So Vishwamitra went to, Vishwamitra was a king, and he was a ruler as a king, Kshatriya class. Vasishta was from the Brahman class. And then Vishwamitra couldn't take that. And Vishwamitra went to the forest and did for penance for so many years. It was mentioned that almost 70,000 years. And that's the time, remember, the Vishwamitra Menaga came, and then Menaga, distracted Vishwamitra's penance. But then Vishwamitra still continued. And finally, the Brahmadeva appeared and gave the boon and became the powerful sage. That's why Vishwamitra is known as Rajarshi, because he was a king and then became a Rishi. Vishwamitra became a Rajarshi, and he also got a power same as Vasishta. But then there was a quarrel between. That's different story. It was still there, and still Vishwamitra was trying to more what is called overcome the power of Vishwamitra. Vasishta, and then one time there was a king who wanted to do the sacrifice, and he wanted to become an Indra. And this time requested to Vasishta to perform this sacrifice, this Ashwamedha sacrifice, to get the post of Indra. And then Vasishta was delayed, and then Vasishta went to the heavenly kingdom. But I forgot the name of the king. But then Vasishta appointed, because Vasishta got this power, and Vasishta performed his sacrifice, and Vasishta created a Trishangu Sorga. Even Vasishta with that power, Vishwamitra got that power. With that power, there is a Sorga in between the heavenly planets and the earthly planets, and even Vishwamitra could do that. That is called Trishangu, yes. It's called
the name was
for the king of
Prashanka,
Trishangu, yes.
Yes,
For the
that's
king
why
of
it
Trishangu,
became Prashanka
he
Swarga.
created this heavenly planet, this Sorga, and that Sorga is known as Trishangu Sorga. I mean, sometimes people say that if you are not there and not in the planet of Earth, you are in between. That's called Trishangu and Trishangu heaven. Yes, that's true. Yes, Vishwamitra became by the his penance and determination and all, he became a Rajarshi. He became by the karma, by the activities, he became a Brahman. He got a Brahmanical power. He got a Brahman, and he could do the sacrifices. He did the sacrifices in so many things. Yes, that's correct.
Basically, he was competed. There was a competition in him that actually took him to the which to lead him to that highest planet, and he became like a Rajashri.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
No problem. Anything else? Anybody? Anything else to share? Okay, if there is nothing else, tomorrow is Vijaya Ekadashi, and please fast from grains and beans. These are the little things we can do, Prabhujis and Matajis, without fail, because it's simple. You don't need to do much. Just be in Sattva Guna, in the mode of goodness, chant the holy name, and be conscious that I am fasting for the pleasure of the Lord and not for any benefit of us. For the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, it's mentioned that, Madhava Tithi Bhakta Janani. What is the mean by that? Madhava Tithi. These are the dates, these are the Tithi, the days for the Lord. So when we perform this Madhava Tithi, what is the result? Bhakti Janani, which can, result of this all can create the bhakti in us. So little service like this, especially Ekadashi, can eradicate all our sins, all our reactions of our activities. Karma can be reduced, karma can be eradicated. Because of our sin and the karma, the reactions, bad sinful reactions, because of that we are away from the Supreme Lord. Because of that we don't have energy to chant the holy name. Because of that, we don't have time to hear the holy name and hear the Bhagavad Gita. Because of that, we are not able to come for the association of the devotees. Because of that, we have so much of struggle and anarthas in our mind and in consciousness. Because of that all. So, but when we have this, when we take a little endeavor, that's our desire, little endeavor towards Krishna takes 100 steps so that it can all eradicate all sinful reactions and karma, then we can purify our consciousness so that we get more taste. We get more taste on everything, on this Krishna consciousness. So it's simple, just chant 1 or 2 rounds. If you're chanting 1 round, chant 2 rounds if you can. Take bath nicely, keep that conscious mood and don't get into any of this material things in this, and keep clean yourself, and then focus or read or hear or associate and chant all those. And Jayaprakash Prabhu arranging a wonderful kirtan from 5 to 7 tomorrow. Please join for that. Some way or other, please engage yourself, especially on this day. You know what is actually Bhagavatam says that when you clap your hands, that is how the birds, there are, in Bombay and all, you have seen that, right? So many birds comes together, and when you go and just clap your hands, this birds flies away like that, exactly like that. This flies away all our reactions, karma, bad reactions, or karma, the sins, all goes away. And it opens and it gives us a wonderful, wonderful, it opens up, it purifies our heart, our consciousness, and we get more closer to the this understandings and taste and nishta and the ruchi, and develop all these wonderful things in us just by doing this, just by taking little effort from our end. So that's the main purpose of this. Sorry,
Prabhuji. I had a question. You go ahead, finish it.
yeah, so please do so, and water the tulasi if you have. Don't pluck the tulasi leaves. Recommended both Ekadashi and Dwadashi, but in some extent it's mentioned that at least it's a must that don't pluck the tulasi leaves on the Dwadashi. But it's some scriptures also mention that don't pluck the tulasi leaves on Ekadashi and Dwadashi, both the days. But Dwadashi is the must, very strict on that. So don't do that. But otherwise, you can sit in front of tulasi or nearby, chant the holy name, and offer anything. Don't Ekadashi, don't eat anything like grains and beans. These grains and beans, this is the day the sins personifies, or is called the Papa. What is called the Papa Purish, sin personified, or flies or takes a shelter of the grains and beans. This is the only day, because of Ekadashi is so powerful. Ekadashi is Lord's potency. It's from the Lord himself. The potency is actually manifested from the Lord himself, this Ekadashi. In order to drive away all the sins. So the Ekadashi, that's why our Tidhis are very powerful. Each Tidhi has so much potency. So if you take Tidhi like Ekadashi Tidhi, this is the day that Lord's potency, that time sins cannot actually kind of come forward, come in front. So they go and take shelter of all the grains and beans. And then that's the day, if we eat these grains and we get so many sins, even other sins also we can get. That's why it's mentioned that don't eat grains and beans on the Ekadashi day, because we can incur sins tremendously. So because of all the sins comes and takes shelter of grains and beans. So don't eat grains and beans on this day. And then anything else he can, depends upon, is recommended. Actually, if you are able to do a Nirjala Ekadashi with the full consciousness of Krishna, it's recommended, but it's not, we don't recommend. Srila Prabhupada also don't recommend much. But, if you can maintain this the main purpose of all this actually engage fully in Krishna consciousness, Krishna service. And then tomorrow is the day. If we can, some eat only once a day, some eat twice a day, some eat only fruits, some eat just milks and fruits, or some, some nuts, cashew nuts and other things, nuts are okay, it's not a bean, but no dal, no all those things, right? No beans at all. Some doesn't even eat. Make sure that you don't cook anything which brought outside from outside, like powders, like chili powders or anything which brought it from outside, because that may all have more contamination. Even sugar, this what is called the sugar, that crystals that which you bring from outside, because that all contains some lots of other impurities we don't know, and so yeah, so that's Ekadashi. Please try to do that so that it helps us a lot. It helps us a lot. There's no doubt into that. And also please join tomorrow evening. Jayaprakash Prabhu is very long time arranging this wonderful Ekadashi Sangha. If you want to sing, please contact Prabhuji. Prabhuji will schedule a time for you.
Prabhuji, I had a question.
Please go ahead.
Quickly. So like my Maharaj, like he said that we have to do 25 rounds, like chanting on Ekadashi.
Yeah.
So I personally get, especially if it's a working day, and no matter how much early I get, I can, like cannot finish my chanting.
Mhm.
And so I feel more than the joy, like there is anxiety, and I feel overwhelmed on Ekadashi days till my chanting is done, which will be like probably by evening I'll be able to finish.
Mhm.
So I feel the pressure on like that, especially Ekadashi, like how to take that away. It means I enjoy the chanting. It's not that I don't enjoy, but when I'm at work also, I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to go home to 2 hours of chanting, because it takes like a lot of time to do that. No man, just like I said, even if I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not able to finish 25 rounds in the morning, because I do my bhoga and everything in the morning before I go to work. And so what is the solution for that? How to?
Well, it's actually it's our mentality, Mataji, because we think that I have to, like Amardana Prabhu very nicely put that together. We always say I have to chant, I have to chant, I have to chant. But if you say that I get to chant, right? I get to chant. The point is actually, see, when we think about Maharaj, your spiritual master is as good as God, and they are the representatives of the Lord in this planet. They gave us, and we promised, we took a vow in front of them, in front of the Lord, in front of our spiritual master. We took a vow. And now on Ekadashi, we took a vow that I would chant 25 rounds. There is no question. That is the most important thing in our life.
I'm not questioning that, I do that with love.
No, what I'm saying,
just,
what I'm trying to say, that when we bring that in our mind, right?
Right.
When we took that in our consciousness, I have to chant. I have to chant for the Lord, for my Guru's pleasure, for my Guru's pleasure, for the Lord's pleasure, I have to chant. If you are now getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, please get up 1 hour early, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yes, it may be tough, but when you have this in your mind that I need to chant for my spiritual master, and then it will automatically finish, automatically will be happened. When I remember Mataji, one time, same thing actually happening. My Guru Maharaj was mentioned on the previous day that you should chant extra rounds. I mean, Maharaj's expectation on that day was everybody should chant 64 rounds. So I thought, okay, I would also chant 64 rounds. So I started to chant, and, chanted 64, and just went ahead. We chanted 128 rounds on that day. And
Yeah.
because of I couldn't stop chanting because of when you think about I didn't feel much. Yes, I mean it's difficult for everybody, especially for Madajis. They have to take care of so many things. And at least I mean 25 round is not a big thing. I mean 16 rounds, Madaji, if you specify, it takes maybe like hour, 40 minutes, 16 rounds. And then another 9 rounds, that maybe another 1 hour. Hardly 2.5 hours, you can finish this 25 rounds. So if you specify, okay, now you have getting a 4 o'clock, if you chant 2 hours, at least you can finish 16 to 18, 20 rounds the morning itself. Then you can,
That's what I tried to do, an hour and a half. Yeah.
yeah, hour and a
Yeah.
half. Then if you spend morning or noon time or the evening time or just before the bed, which is focus on that.
No, it's just that's what I'm saying. On working days, it's more, like
Yeah,
otherwise it's no issue, like it's just when you're working, then like by the time you come home, you're thinking, like we have chanting, and then you're being pulled in all different
Pulled in.
directions. So that pressure is there,
Conscious
like
pressure is there. Yeah. Right.
yeah,
I mean,
like
that's there for the grihasthas. It's there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
very true. But somehow we have to manage that with,
Yeah.
with
So
joy.
I have been managing like
Yeah.
since the time I've been initiated, for like I have been managing, but I'm just saying, but I feel that anxiousness, that anxiety should not be there, especially on Ekadashi, that it
Yeah.
should be joyful, that pressure should not be there. I should do it in a more, like happier mood than in an anxious mood. That's what my question was. Otherwise, there's no question of not following my Guru Maharaj's instruction. I've never thought about that. No matter even if I have to stay up at 2 a.m. in the morning, I would do that.
Yeah.
But there's no question about that. But
It's
I was
also
just
mentioned
thinking.
that there is another tip for this actually. Like that's why it's mentioned that we have to start to prepare for Ekadashi on the Dashami day itself. Like we should, our diet should be proper, our sleep should be proper. We have to be done too much into the another things, and we have to prepare for to do the Ekadashi.
Yeah, I tried to. Yeah, tried to
That
go to bed
way,
in time.
yeah, that way our consciousness becomes so pure. And then as soon as you get up morning, okay, let me get up early, little early, like every morning we may get up at 4:30. Now you get up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
And so that
I
you
do
go to
that.
bed
Yeah,
little
Prabhuji.
early. And
Yeah.
then, fix your, I mean, one of the thing I felt that Ekadashi is the best day for me. So pure,
That's
so
good.
conscious, so
Yeah.
beautiful, so wonderful. And even on the next day, Dwadashi, you feel so good. And I feel, though, why did I miss the Ekadashi again? I had to wait for. See, that, this, when that the consciousness, Mataji, we have to prepare for it. And then when you prepare it, then everything, our body, then you don't feel hunger, you don't feel anything else. You don't do anything. So our entire body, conscious mind, everything comes in one line. And you will more energized that way.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Mataji.
Thank you.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
Amradanda Prabhu wanted to.
Your thing, nuts, that anxiety. Don't bother too much about anxiety, because that anxiety itself is a spiritual activity. There is a material anxiety which we get for fear or loss of something, and the anxiety that you're talking about is, oh God, I don't want to miss my Guru Maharaj's instruction. So that kind of an anxiety is positive in the sense it's a benchmark of where you are in your bhakti, your sadhana, how seriously you're taking your sadhana. So it's a matter of consciousness. And the other point which you say is to be joyous. It will definitely come, because as long as you're maintaining that discipline, so the fact that you're feeling anxiety is a sign of progress. And the other thing is 9 rounds, as Prabhu was saying, it will take about an hour, 10 minutes. Now we look at 9 rounds to do it all together, and then 60, 70 minutes in a busy day becomes a lot to carve out. So the other way, at least what I do when these things happen, when there are busy days or things like that, is first finish off whatever is your quota in the morning. It takes you about an hour 40 minutes, hour 45 minutes. Otherwise, it takes a whole day to do your 16 rounds. But on these special days, to do additional 9 rounds, you break it into pieces, and that problem doesn't become 60, 70 minutes. So try and figure out during your day. I don't know where you work and whether you have the opportunity of privacy, maybe in your car, in the parking lot. If you could squeeze in 1, 2 rounds or something like that, then it becomes a little bit more.
Yeah, but that's what it is. I don't want to break it up. That's what my problem is. I want to do, sit and, like do it together, because that, I don't know, I want that discipline, that I want to sit and do it together only,
Then
somehow,
getting
I
up
want
early,
to.
as what Prabhu said, if you get up
Yeah,
at
no, I
4,
get up early, Prabhuji. I get up
yeah,
early, especially,
an
yeah.
hour earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Anu Mataji, you wanted to say something? You wanted to ask?
I was listening to Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam to you,
Hari
glories
bol,
to
Hari
Prabhupada.
bol.
Haribol. I actually also work in the school, and I understand from where you're coming from, and I think my anxiousness also kind of the thing, like, when I don't, I couldn't. But what I have started doing, I start talking to Krishna with in my heart, that. And sometimes when I'm talking, people are observing and thinking what to whom I'm talking to. Sometimes when at home also. So I think anchoring him within, talking to him in the situation you are, or asking that please make an arrangement for me, and I need to do that for you. I think if you're talking to him about your chanting, I think it also goes straight to him,
Yeah.
and he listens. So
Yes,
I
yes,
do
Mataji.
anchor throughout the day, whether I'm not able to wake up in the morning, whether I'm not able to chant in the morning, or if I do a little bit or do later in the day, it's all sometimes varies. Today I chanted before I went, but I feel that anxiousness builds up to hold in, to so that I felt that anxiousness was not a good. I mean, as Prabhu just saying, is a good sign. But when you start chanting, it just draws that you are more coming closer to him, day by, like that, when you are more anxious. But that's for my example, I don't know about you, but when I am very anxious and I start chanting, I feel that he has anchored very strong, like I'm there for you, so don't worry.
Yeah, oh
It
yeah,
can be
yes,
fear,
Mataji.
it can be your anxiousness, but
Yeah,
you know just like every whole day, I mean, if it's possible to talk within and make an arrangement, and this is what I need, Krishna. So I think
yeah.
it's
No,
it's you are
yeah.
connected.
Yeah, I am, Mataji. Yeah, he has always been there for me, I know, over the years, so I have no doubts about that. But thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Hari
Hare
bol.
Krishna, Mataji, Hare Bol.
Hari bol.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful discussions. Wonderful Sangha. Anything else? And also, on March 11th is Shivaratri. Vaishnavanam Yada Shambhu. The greatest devotee is Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Yama Samhita says, Vaishnavanam Yada Shambhu. The greatest devotee of the Lord. Lord Shiva, we always see that Lord Shiva always in meditation. So there's naturally a question, whom Lord Shiva is meditating upon. Lord meditating upon Sangarshan. The Ram Sangarshan. Lord Shiva. And also there is lots of topics that we can say about this relationship between Sankarshan and Lord Shiva. The one reason of Lord Shiva has snakes is representing that Sankarshan and Balaram, Anandashesh, all those are there. Anyway, so Giriraj Maharaj is speaking on 11th is Shivaratri. 8 to 9 Maharaj is speaking, and also you're scheduling some kirtan from 6 to 8 and then 9 to 10. Maybe Maharaj may have some kirtan, some chantings. As usual, Maharaj does it. So I humbly request everybody, please join, and because it's very nice to hear being the Sangha of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So pure, so humble, so nice. We could feel that the presence of purity and that entire, that darshan itself is very purifying. So please join on Thursday. And then 28th is the Gaura Purnima. So these flyers and the details are out. So please help in any way you can with Jayaprakash Prabhu's cooking. So please help Jayaprakash Prabhu in cooking, and if anybody would like to sign up for help in cooking, or we are also planning some cleaning up in the temple, Gundija Marjan, in the week, and also to clean up everything nicely, to decorate everything nicely, and to make sure that
What time is the cooking,
everything is-
Prabhu?
Hmm?
What time is the cooking?
Prash Prabhu, early in the morning. Are you there, Prash Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm still here. Hare Krishna. I'm planning to start at 11 o'clock.
On Gaur Purnima day.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
So please join. So this way, you all can participate to celebrate the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So nice to be part of. Don't miss the opportunity, any opportunity for the service. And there's a lot to say about service. I'm not taking much time for that. So please join, and thank you so much for this Sangha. Let's see everybody tomorrow. So let's also pay our obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, paying our obeisance to Vancha Kalpatarupasya.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnavrinda
Ki
ki
jai.
Srimad Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Gita
Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Hari Hari.
Subal Guruji for a nice class, wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Subala.
you.
Nice
Hare
class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna.
Hare
It was wonderful.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.